Hey, welcome back to Babe and Library. It's your girl Lisa, and today we are covering my 12 for 12 book challenge. This is where you read 12 books recommended by 12 friends in 12 months. So, this is a challenge that's over on Instagram. I'll put the template for 2023 up here with the 12 books I will be reading. Check in each month after I've read a book, and we'll capture it out with my thoughts at the end and whether or not I'll do this video in 2024. But the first book I did read for this month, which is January, is going to be Real by Kennedy Ryan. So this was recommended to me by the lovely Tosh or Natasha. Put her handle down below. This was the first book I read because I wanted to do a Kennedy Ryan backlist reading vlog, and I absolutely loved it. It was a 5-star recommendation, so thanks, Tosh, for putting this on my radar. Everyone loved this book last year in 2022, and I had been putting it off, wasn't ready to jump into the hype, but I am so glad that Natasha put this on my list because I loved it. So this is an author's romance. This is the romance between Cannon, who is a film director, and Neva, who is the female main character in his biopic for Desi Blue. So one of the things I absolutely loved about this story, it is a story within a story. So not only do you get Cannon and Neva's love story, but you get Desi Blue's backstory in terms of her history, her life, and you get to see Neva portray it and act it out. So you get 2 love stories in one. This one would make me cry, but it soothed my soul. So it was very sweet that you get to see it's a Grump Sunshine romance where Cannon doesn't necessarily have relationships in terms of falling in love. He watched his mother and cared for her throughout her last and final days. And it comes pretty much full circle as you get to see him open up to Neva, fall in love with her, and she is going through medical hardship. She has lupus, so I do want to make sure I state that there is lupus representation. But it is heartbreaking in terms of you see that Neva just wants to give her passion projects her all, but she is fighting not only for her life, but fighting for her art. It touched me. 5 stars. Thank you, Natasha, for putting this as a recommendation. And I just finished reading Muscles and Monsters by Ashley Bennett. I don't recall who sent this, but whoever it was, kudos to you, because this is chef's kiss. It is a 4.5-star novella monster romance. So Ashley Bennett has created this world in the Leviathan series that is detailed. She is a cunning and crafty writer. I will say it is amazing the amount of detail she was able to pack into a 174 monster romance novella. I read this for Novellathon and I absolutely loved it. I will tell you a few things. If you're not sure monster romance is for you and you're like, I can't really get down with it, but you want to try something like getting your toe wet, I would suggest starting with this series. It has a lot of really great elements, right? So you get the emotional piece. I will say Atlas, who is the main character, he is a werewolf. He is my favorite. He is amazingly sweet. So Ashley did a wonderful thing by tipping the stereotypes on their head, right? So you've got, usually in a monster situation, you typically think of werewolves as the bad guy, very intimidating, big bad wolf, Red Riding Hood. The female main character in the situation, who is Tegan, you would assume that she is meek and she is timid. Absolutely not. You've got Atlas, who is strong physically, but he is so in touch with his emotional side, and he is dealing with a breakup that kind of left him torn. His ex-girlfriend, who was also a wolf, pretty much dominated the relationship and tore him down. Would always find terrible things to say about him, criticize him, and try to change him. And then he runs across Tegan, who is this sweet, bubbly baker, but she has, some ways about her that fits his yin to the yang. And she is one to step up and stand up for her man, and she takes no shit off of no one. So I love that Ashley was able to craft that particular situation that both partners could feel comfort, and you would be able to see how their relationship would work. I will also tell you my favorite character, hands down, is Fallon, which is a griffin. He is Atlas's best friend, and he is funny as fuck. Like, Griffin is going to be, like, I can't wait for us to get his book. And I'm pretty sure Ashley is probably going to hold it off for as long as possible. I found some of the things that I found interesting is I like how she sprinkled in certain facts that you would never even think about. Like, the details are so crafted so well. So if you think about a dog, when they have a question, they tend to turn their head like this, and one of their ears goes up and the other one kind of points down. Anytime that Atlas would have a question, he would look at Tegan that way. Or the thought process of Atlas not having carpet in his home because his claws would always mess up the carpet. I thought that that was genius to kind of put that in. Other things that I love, it was more of an emotional situation. As I told you, I love being able to see the body positivity. So you got to see the female main character, again, Tegan, is a plus size heroine. So she talks about her relationship with her body and how she appreciates it and loves it for being able to do the things that she can do with it, right? Not falling into that ableism trap. And really appreciating and loving her body, and also working to get Atlas to do the same thing. He may be on the outside be this physical fit bodybuilder who owns a gym, but shows that he has a tumultuous relationship and body image issues. So I love that that dynamic. Okay, y'all. So I'm coming in hot, just finishing Taken to Veraxia by Elizabeth Stevens. This was recommended to me by my friend on Instagram, Hillary, from Hillary_reads. I'm going to tell you, essentially it's Beam Me Up, Shawty. I'm trying to get chose by one of Elizabeth's many aliens. Like, I'm really leaning towards Chrysox, but I'll take Raku or Zoran, whatever you want to call him. I mean, who wouldn't want the chief? You know, all hail to the chief. But Chrysox is definitely my speed. Like, you angry and I see it, but you gonna come riding for me whenever. I can't wait to get to book 4. But just to give you a brief synopsis, this is an alien romance, very similar to Ice Planet Barbarians, but I'm gonna tell you, for me, much better. This has a lot of political intrigue. It has fated mates, which we're here for. Let's cut out the work. Do you like me? Do I like you? We vibe, literally. It also has your diversity in characters and representation, very good world building, creative use of language. Really, you can't go wrong. This is a story that starts off very Hunger Games-esque when you've got tributes that are lined up for breeding, right? So you've got humans that are being sacrificed in terms of young women who are of age and eligible to be bred by aliens that come to visit their planet. And in this instance, you've got Raku, who pretty much leads the entire galaxy in this particular setting. And these people don't know his customs, don't know who he is. They don't know that he controls their land. And he's like, hey, what's going on? Why are my, captains so intrigued with this planet? Why are we sending resources here? Especially, why don't these people know who I am, and why are they afraid of us? And he learns that some of his people have been doing them wrong, whereas he believes that this hunt is consensual, and these people truly don't want to be involved with the aliens. But lo and behold, he's on this planet and he finds his mate, and he's like, so you mean to tell me this savagery that y'all been going on about, y'all could have been messing over with my mate? No, let's go ahead and put an end to this right now. And it continues to spiral and get bigger from there. Some of the things that I absolutely love, in addition to, again, what I've said earlier in this video, I love that this was very clearly written by a woman. You've got an alien character. No matter the, speaking or dialect difference, what you can say is a woman had to write that a main male character shows his emotion on his face, literally by his colors, and you know exactly how he feels. Not only is he able to communicate that, right, with his words and expressing his love for you by his action, but he shows his emotion right there on his face. Like, if that isn't something we all need and want, I don't know what is. In addition to that, you've got boss babes, which, you know, I'm a sucker for a boss babe heroine. The main female character, Miyari, she is a scientist and she is an inventor. She tinkers and she is able to escape situations, and she knows when to console her man versus when to challenge him. She knows that she is going to express her love, and she expects the same in return from her mates. Like, it is 5 stars goodness. I rounded it up. Really, it was probably about a 4.5 star because I need to leave room for growth. And I know that growth is coming by book 2 and book 4. So I am so thankful Hillary put this on my radar because I had never heard of this. Again, I'm just dipping my toe in the alien romance. But after this, I'm ready to dive in. So for the month of April, I read Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. This is for my 12 for 12 recommendations. I got this as a recommendation from Emily at Raunchy Romance Reviews. She also purchased this, so blessings to Emily. Love your social media page. If anyone is not following Emily's page on Instagram, please do so. I'm going to make sure it's located on the screen. This was a 4.5 star read. This absolutely broke me. I went through every single emotion. I'm a thug, so I did not cry, but I'm going to tell you, Jennifer Hartman worked her ass off to try to get me to shed some tears. Like, this has so many layers and levels to it. There is so much to unpack. This is a dark romance. And when I say dark romance, emphasis on the dark. There's only maybe one book that I've read that was just as dark as this, but it was totally different in the context and themes. Do not take it lightly. Please make sure that you read the trigger warnings. There is so much that could be harmful or damaging to someone that is not in the right headspace. But if you pick this up, I promise you, it is going to move mountains in terms of how you see people in their journey. This is a story of Cora and Dean. This is a sister's fiance romance where they are kidnapped, they're tortured, and they're left to pick up the pieces of their life after the fact and try to live a normal life when the circumstances that have led them to be in a relationship are not normal by any means. Jennifer Hartman did an amazing and exceptional job of making sure that you got to see all of the perspectives of each character, whether it was Cora and Dean's side, how it impacts the parents. You got to see how it impacts Mandy. There are so many, again, I can't stress how many different layers and levels there are to it. I will tell you, I absolutely adore Dean, top tier stand-up guy. Cora was very difficult for me to love. However, I truly did respect her and appreciate her strength. I struggled so much with that character. That's why I wasn't able to get a 5-star read. But I will say, through it all, I understood as a reader that I worked to give her grace just like Dean did and everyone else did in her life, because I could never relate. And I understand that the choices that were made are realistic choices and realistic things that I'm sure people have gone through. And Jennifer Hartman did the work to make sure that she brought that to life through this page. But if you are looking for an emotional read, something that, you know, grips you by the heart and puts you into a vice, but makes you appreciate what you have and yearn for a soulmate, this is the book that will do it for you. All right, y'all, I am back for my June 12 for 12 challenge, which is going to be the mixtape by Brittany C. Cherry. This was recommended to me by one of my fave Instagram friends, Milan, over at Instagram, known as Lan Loves Lines. She did her thing with this recommendation. This received a 4.5 star from me because Brittany C. Cherry really got to me, y'all. Like, I was in public at the beauty shop trying my best not to cry out in public because the emotions that you get with this story is indescribable. Like, this is so poetic and beautiful and touching. This covers so much in what I would consider as a short span of time, right? It's 325 pages. It is a breeze. I encourage you. This is on Kindle Unlimited's Read and Listen. So not only do you get to read the story on your Kindle, but it will also, there's an audiobook that I highly recommend for this. This speaks to my soul because music is the way to my heart. It helps, get through the good times, the bad times, as they talk about. There is a song for every person. There is a song for every situation. And Brittany C. Cherry does a really good job of showing the power of music and its healing qualities and how it brings people together. She did an amazing job of pulling from different genres and showing how, again, it is universal. There is beauty in every single genre that's out there, whether it be old school R&B, whether it be country music, if it is new age pop or techno, like whatever the case may be, Brittany C. Cherry brought it out of you, and it is something for everyone. I think this is one of those books that I think you could possibly recommend it to everyone. Now, be mindful that it does have its fair share of trigger and content warnings. There is abuse of religion. I'm going to say that, right? There is a death of a family member. There is a discussion of rape. There's so much that's compacted into this, but you get to see the beauty of how people go through these dark times and are able to find someone to help them transition out of it. There is talk of therapy in here. So again, I think that Brittany C. Cherry handled this with care, but let me go ahead and just take a step back to talk about what this book actually is. So this is the story of Emery and Oliver and how they are two individuals who have a mountain of trauma that they've experienced that shows up in their everyday life, and how they are fighting to work through it and find each other in the midst of a dark time and are able to work through their issues together. So Oliver is dealing with the death of his twin brother, who he was physically in the present when it happened, and he is having survivor's guilt. And again, because this is his twin brother, he is struggling because that is his other half, in his mind, the better half. And he is trying to figure out how he's going to do this thing called life without the person that made him better. And he is struggling to see the good in the world without him. And he one day stumbles into a bar drunk and looking for his redemption at the bottom of a bottle. And at the time, he meets Emery, who is working at the bar and is the only one managing it. And she sees that her favorite artist, the person who made music that really helped her in her childhood when she was struggling because her parents put her in a toxic family situation. And the only person that she really saw as her hero is being knocked off of this pedestal because of him being in the bar and drowning in his sorrows. When I first met Oliver, I struggled because he was nasty and vicious, and I understood it was because of the circumstances, but it was still hard to see it. As just as much as it's hard for Emery to see the person she held on a pedestal fall off that pedestal, right? They always say, never meet your icons or never meet your idols, because they'll never live up to the person you made them out to be in your mind. And this was that similar situation for Emery, but Emery is a light, and she calls to those who need help and need assistance. And that's exactly what she did for Olive. And you see that not only is she a help for those or others, but she is trying her best day in and day out to be the person that she's trying to be for others, be that for herself. And she needs the help as well. So just as much of the balm she is for Oliver, he is soothing and he is a balm and the calm in her storm in this story as well. This is a single parent romance, rock star celebrity romance, but the single parent is what got me. Emery's daughter, Reese. When I found out the importance of Reese and her name and got to meet the little girl, this shows me that kids in stories can elevate a story to new heights, because I loved Reese. She was funny, and she said, the things that we all would think, but she also knew how to be there for her mom and how to make Oliver feel better. Like, she was the glue to be able to show these two people that love conquers all, because he was able to fall in love with not just her mother, but her. That gesture that he makes at the end of the book, that really almost got me to break down. Like, there is so much love in his family. His parents are the epitome of what we want to be when we grow older. Having that love that lasts a lifetime and being able to show that love and spread it. Fantastic. Well, I am checking in on my 12 for 12 challenge to let you know that I am DNFing Mia McKenzie's Sky Falling. This was a recommendation by Kai from KB's Bookshelf. Thank you so much, girl, for sending this to me. But truly, I do not want to suffer. I got 10% of the way, and this is a situation in which I know that the author is writing the character as someone that the reader is not going to agree with, that you can't necessarily appreciate the choices that are made, and that there is a buildup and an arc for a character redemption, or for the character to go through on the other side and be a better human than they were in the beginning of the story. And honestly, I don't want to suffer through that. I understand the way in which it started and how it should end, but I want to tell you that it is November and I don't really have that type of time to be invested in a book that I do not want to read. So that being said, I'm going to put Sky Falling down and I'm going to figure out what I want to read.
The gag is, I just told you all that I was going to pick up another book for this video, and I didn't. It is December and I am closing this out with 5 books having not read. 4 of them, I believe, will carry on until next year, so they do have hopes of being read. Firstly being The Duchess Deal by Tessa Dare. I did not read this. I actually started it on audiobook and I DNF'd it, meaning not necessarily that I was going to DNF it for good, but I just wasn't in a historical romance reading era at the time. I also had trouble with the accent, being that it was a little bit difficult for me to understand. So I think I'm going to pick this up in 2024 and read it physically, so that way I can really immerse myself in the reading. So this will be carrying on until 2024, as will We Are Not From Here by Jenny Torres Sanchez. This was high up on my list to read. I just haven't gotten into the mood where I was ready for the emotional toll that this would take. I'm hopeful that I'll read this in January and start off my 2024 right, but this is definitely going to be moved into the next year, as will Penelope Douglas's Birthday Girl. I have been putting this one off, I think because it's overly hyped and I don't want to be disappointed. I've been telling myself every July, which is my birthday month, I'll get to it, but I've read so many age gap romance that I had gotten burnt out on it, and I didn't want that to be the case for Penelope Douglas because that is supposed to be the standard. So I will be picking it up in 2024. I might just have to push it off into July, hopefully be better in the time frame to read. But I have the audiobook, so that just gives me more incentive to read it. I also need to pick up Bright Like Wildfires by Juliet Cross. I need to pick up that one next year. I had to finish Juliet Cross's other series, and I didn't want to start another book from her before I finished the last series. But I still have hopes to read that one once I am ready for my small town type of feel. That is the one that I'll be going to. And then lastly, the book that will not be coming into 2024 with me is Easy. I actually, and I don't have this copy anymore, I wind up donating it. You should have seen that in my unhaul video. That one, I just feel like the season has passed. It was a book from probably 2012. That book was from 2012, and I have no interest in reading that. So that is the one book from this list that will not be carrying over until 2024. But I want to thank everyone that recommended a book to me. If you have a book that you'd like for me to read in 2024, I've got 5 spots open. And you would think that I would just push these into 2024 and fit those 5 spots. I'm not. So do me a favor, if there's a book that you'd like for me to read, drop it in the comments below. Tell me what your favorite recommendation was from this year, and I'll talk to you all next time. Bye.